Hey guys, good morning. I hope everyone's doing well and having a great morning. I wanted to pop on here for just a little bit and share with you again some things. I came off of a weekend with my group of girlfriends. We stayed on a beach in Georgia. Amazing time. We did some sharing and loving and drinking of wine, a lot of wine. And just really enjoyed getting together and catching up. And it was in all this time over the weekend that we not only catching up, but people asked me, about my spiritual journey, how and when it started. I and I've had that question a lot. How did it start? What did you do? What did it look like? All those things. So in my 30s, I've shared a little bit that I grew up, in a Lutheran home, but in my 30s, I really started feeling a pull. It was in my late 30s, a pull towards God, and trying to figure out what that was. And then I watched Oprah a lot. She professes to be a Christian, and but she went outside of that Christian, I call bubble, and explored spirituality on many, many levels. And I feel like when you do something like that, it does open you up and opens your heart and your mind up to so much more. I do believe in reading the Bible for me. I try to do it daily, sometimes twice a day. I listen to the Bible or read the Bible and do some devotion, because that's what works for me, and that's where I get support. That's where I get love and guidance. So that works for me. But I also subscribe to a lot of different things. Like there's a lot of Buddhism that speaks to me, and it just resonates with how I feel like we are supposed to live when we're walking like Jesus. So, like I said, in my late 30s, I got kind of there and found Oprah, and she opened the door for me for a lot of things, a lot of different ways to explore my spirituality. And then when I separated from my first husband, we were not equally yoked, and as far as our religious beliefs, and neither was my second husband and I equally yoked. So, but in the beginning, when I met my second husband, he was very supportive of where I was going with my spirituality. He didn't hinder it, but he has his own beliefs, and they didn't seem to clash, so we were fine. And but it was actually, my daily resolve to spend time with God. And some days it was the Bible, some days it wasn't. Some days it was something I read as far as a Buddhist saying or a religious leader, and then I would go explore their thoughts and figure out what that meant to me and apply it to me in prayer. I say the strongest thing in my spiritual growth was me praying, just spending time talking to God, because it's when we do that we can hear Him. But it has to be at a time. If you're a busy mom, or if you're busy and you don't have children, have dogs or whatever, and you're working, that's a busy life. So my biggest growth happened when I wasn't working, and not everyone is afforded that opportunity. The time that I lived in Germany, I didn't work outside the home. So I had all day long to hike. I lived in the middle of all these hills, and I had all day long to hike and just spend time with God. And that is when I grew spiritually. That's when so much came to light for me, so much insight, and where I could hear Him. And so I've already shared with you the time that I saw Him as a light to me. And as I'm speaking now, I'm feeling like that as I explained to you, when that happened, I felt very humbled and questioned, why me? I'm not worthy of this. And as I'm sitting here explaining this to you, it's coming to me. He was telling me He was choosing me for this. that he chooses us all for different works on the earth when we're here. And some of it's to write books, some of it's to wax eyebrows, but we're here. And janitors, cooks, presidents, we're all chosen to do work here. And some of it is in the way that we think it is, and some of it is in the way that we haven't even got there yet. So I never knew that I would be, and I've been called this a few times, I never knew that I would be a disciple. But I think that's what he was preparing me for that day, that I was going to be his disciple. I'm not a materialistic person. I never have been. I've been drawn to material things at certain points in my life for one reason or another, and I can pinpoint the reason at the time. But I was just reading this morning about how Jesus was telling his disciples to leave all your things, to leave your life, and just be a disciple. And I had a problem with being called that by certain people, because I didn't want to put myself on the same plane as any of Jesus' disciples. But we are all disciples, and we just have different ways. And I think that that's exactly what my way is I sold the house that God told me to sell. I put all my things into storage, and a lot of things I gave away. And I packed me and my dog up and took a few things, and I'm being a disciple. And even in this weekend with my girlfriends, there was a lot of sharing of spirituality. And I'm sure and hope and pray, because I got some nuggets of wisdom from them, and I hope and pray that they got some from me, that we were all kind of in that love that we share. We were sharing our spirituality as well. So back to the original question, I was afforded the opportunity to spend one-on-one time with God. And I think that's the key. I think if you really want to get closer to God and walk with him and hear him and know that you're following his path, you have to spend time with him every day. And some of us just don't have that time. We're too busy in our lives. But there has to be a good 15, 20 minutes a day that you could just sit in a quiet room and just talk to him. It doesn't have to be hours. Just a few moments. And like I said, when you're driving in your car listening to music, switch off the music every once in a while. Just start talking to him. It's always a good thing. It never turns out poorly that way. You might miss the song you just turned off, but it'll come back. And in those moments, those are the moments that I feel like God's telling me, I need to talk to you. I have something to tell you, or I need to hear from you. I haven't heard from you today. That's how it feels to me. People say, do you hear a voice? No. And so many times, I don't even consciously think, oh, I need to go do this. It just happens. I just move. I stayed with a friend not too long ago, and stayed the night. And the plan was to get up and have breakfast, but I got up, got showered, got dressed, packed my car, and he was awake, but she wasn't. And it wasn't that I wanted to get out of their home, because I didn't. It was so warm and loving there. The Lord just moved me, and I know why. Because the next person that I saw, I wouldn't have run into them and shared his love had I not gotten out of the house when he moved me to get out of the house. And case in point, the other day, several of us were coming out of different states for this girls' trip. One of the girls was driving, and I was already in Savannah, because we went to Tybee Island in Georgia. It's right outside of Savannah, and I'd already been there. I was there, and she told me what hotel she was at. But in my mind, the day before I'd been walking, I walk when I travel, because you can see more when you walk, and I'd been walking the city, and I was all over the city, walked several miles, and saw a Hilton hotel, which she told me she was at the Hilton, and she sent me the address. And I said, oh, I walked by there the other day. She goes, I'm confused. I'm like, oh, no, I walked miles. That's where I was. I just had it in my head that that's where I was supposed to go. And I said, I'll walk down there. And she's like, oh. I'm like, no, I know where it is. Didn't even look at the address. But instead of walking, it was in my mind, no, you're not walking today. Get in the car and drive down there. Even though it was maybe a 2-mile walk, so it's not a very long walk. So I got in the car, drove down there, parked, walked to the hotel, went to the lobby, and she kept saying she was in the lobby. She wasn't in the lobby. I'm like, I'm in the lobby. But the Lord brought me to the girl that worked as a receptionist in the lobby. And there was nobody there. There weren't any customers or anything. And so we got to talk about him as I'm trying to figure out on my phone where this person was. And we got a good 10, 12 minutes of talking about God. And she was like, this is so what I needed today. And I said, oh, me too. And so gave her a hug. I'm a hugger. And started to walk away. And finally, on the phone, she goes, well, here's the address again. I'm like, oh, that's on the other direction. That's why I wasn't supposed to drive, because I was supposed to, or walk, because I was supposed to drive down there. See this beautiful spirit that I got to see. And so as I was leaving, I said, wrong hotel. She was waiting on the phone, but I kind of talked over a little bit. Excuse me, but wrong hotel. But I was supposed to talk to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your spirit with me. And so it's those kinds of things that just happen when you just trust him. And I have nothing to lose at this point in my life except to keep trusting him, because good things always come from it. So anyway, that in a nutshell is my spiritual journey. There's some stories that are very, very powerful of his. I hate to call miracles, because miracles are what we think of when we think of healing the deaf or the blind or whatever. But things have happened in my life, and as I share them with people, they believe it. But when I tell this story, it feels weird sometimes because it's so out there, but it really happened. So I think the next video I'll talk about it. Sometimes it's so incredulous that it's hard for me to believe as well, but it happened. But anyway, so I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I will talk to you guys soon, and I'll share some more. Love you guys. Have a blessed day.